Ron Rivera, there was a report that went out this week, and obviously Ron Rivera, he's very in tap at the news that he did not pick Carson Wentz. Good morning, NFC East fans. It is a football Friday with me, Jeff Kerr, and my man Tones of Shields. I know I'm kind of setting the stage here for what is to come on this football Friday, Tone, but I gotta be honest with you. I mean, if you didn't, that's fine. Did you watch that atrocity of a game last night?
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. It wasn't by any stretch of the imagination entertaining. And, you know, we kind of knew what we were walking into with this game. And, you know, I'll be honest, I didn't watch all of it. I just, when I saw the first quarter and some change going without scoring and just the way they were playing, the turnovers and just bad quarterbacking throughout, I'm like, okay, I can't do this anymore. And then as soon as I start watching, people want to start scoring points. So I'm like, okay, all right, it is what it is. We can. I'll live with it, I guess. So, but overall, man, the game itself is not even the news. The game itself is not even where the spark started to fly. Right. Ron Rivera had a pretty heated press conference, Jeff, and I don't know, man. Like I always say, it's hard to put the genie back in the bottle.
Yeah, for those of you who want to understand what Tone's talking about or went to bed after the game, or if you went to bed before the game ended, I wouldn't blame you because it was a bad football game. And I'll just say this first. Can we get the Bears off of prime time? I know they're all on Monday Night Football in 10 days, but can we get this team off? They're god-awful, and the Commanders were lucky to get away with a victory. But Ron Rivera, there was a report that went out this week, and obviously Ron Rivera, he's very in tap at the news that he did not pick Carson Wentz. Dan Snyder did. And Rivera went to his team's defense and Carson's defense. Said, no, he's the guy who does the notes. He was the guy up late hours. This is the guy he wanted. That's what he said. And there were other reports saying that the Commanders want Jimmy Garoppolo and Rivera won Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm sure Ron Rivera won Jimmy Garoppolo too, but they probably heard Jimmy Garoppolo had the surgery and decided, okay, we'll sell him Carson Wentz, or this is the guy we want. And Rivera pretty much went full Mike Gundy. I'm a man. I'm 40. But it was directed not at Carson Wentz, in favor of Carson Wentz. And it was a passionate speech, Tone. He was driven. I don't think we've seen this style of Ron Rivera in Carolina before. And I think coaching the Commanders is getting to this man.
Yeah, I think this. Yeah, like you said, this is pure frustration. This is pure boiling point, and I really can't blame him for being frustrated. But at the same time, you said what you said. You have to take responsibility and deal with the repercussions of that. And whether those repercussions are internal or external, you have to face the music. And now people are going to question whether or not you, even if you're being unequivocally true and honest, you let the genie out of the bottle. You had the press conference earlier this week that essentially threw Carson Wentz under the bus, and you tried to walk it back. It's okay. That's you had a firm talking to. You had to play damage control, but it is what it is. And I know a lot of people are trying to make a big deal about what Rivera said in the first place about Carson, and some people approach it from different angles. It was unprofessional, or there's no way in football that there's no place in football for that kind of talk about your quarterback. And my thing is, he doesn't owe Carson Wentz anything. If anything, it's a rental. After this year, they can get out of that contract, I believe, if unscathed, if I'm not mistaken. But let's not pretend Carson Wentz is this guy that deserves all this fanfare and all this respect. And Carson Wentz has been a bad quarterback for an extended period of time, at least 3 years. And for him to just be honest about the quarterback, you can't deny how bad he's been playing. You can't deny it. Now, sure, could he have handled it differently? Definitely. But me personally, I don't think much of it. I don't care.
Yeah, this is what's tough for me with the whole scenario. Rivera, to me on Monday, I don't think Rivera did a great job explaining it afterwards. And I'm not talking about Monday. I'm talking about the next day. I think he was fun. But right away, and look, I get what he was saying. Like, Washington's, how can I word this? Denver and Carolina, I think, have gone through more quarterbacks than Washington has over the past couple of years, 3 or 4 years. It just seemed like Washington was never able to get their guy. Like, they thought Dwayne Haskins, God rest his soul, was their guy, and it didn't work out. They tried. Ryan Fitzpatrick was going to be a 1-year rental for them. He gets hurt. Taylor Heineke's been back and forth in the lineup. They had to bring back Josh Johnson, who's been on like 14 different teams at one point. They just haven't been able to find that quarterback. So I get what he was saying there. My key thing with the whole takeaway was Wentz didn't even know about it until they kind of told him. And Rivera, like, Washington PR said, hey, Ron said this. And he's like, oh, okay, like, I'm off social media. Like, I good for Carson, by the way. But he seemed okay with it because Rivera addressed it right away. And I think Rivera knows how to handle his team. I think those guys like Rivera. I think they like playing for Rivera. I just think it's just a colossal mess of an organization where you got the Dan Snyder dirt stuff coming in, from yesterday. And, this is why the owners can't get rid of him. And then you got the whole stadium issue. And there's just so much external drama going on. Oh, and by the way, the product on the field's terrible. So Carson
that makes it even worse.
Yeah. So Wentz can't throw for 100 yards in the football game. They need Brian Robinson, who got shot in the knee twice in the knee 6 weeks ago, to basically bail your offense out against a bad Chicago Bears defense. I mean, look at this, Tone. 214 total yards, 2 of 11 on third down. Just an ugly performance by Washington last night, and they won the game because Chicago can't field the punt. That's really what it came down to last night. Honestly, like, I can see why Rivera's so frustrated. If I'm watching right now, I'm just saying to myself, man, somehow we're not – I don't think they're alive in the NFC East race. I think there's no chance in hell they are, but they're still alive, like, technically for a playoff spot. Honestly, Tone, the NFL is so mediocre, and you combine Thursday Night Football with it, man, it's Amazon. Give me back my money.
Yeah, it's looking real bad, but we can't pretend like all of a sudden Thursday Night Football is terrible because of Amazon. Thursday Night Football has been terrible for a long time, no matter what platform it's been on. So I can't even just say Amazon, give me my money back, because Amazon has a lot of other dope content. I've been watching The Rings of Power, and The Rings of Power is really good. So I can't blame Amazon for the bad product. Maybe you can blame them for maybe the presentation, maybe the way the announcers do their thing, but that's the announcer's job, to deliver, a colorful game and, provide context and whatnot. But as far as the actual game, the product of itself, as the NFL, Thursday Night Football has historically been, frowned upon, historically been, a terrible product. Most 90% of the NFL people that actually play and coach the game hate Thursday Night Football. It's simply a money grab for the NFL. So we understand that, and I can't blame Amazon for Thursday Night Football. It existed before them, and it's going to exist after them. But look, the NFC East is completely out of Washington's grasp. At this point, they need to be more concerned with finding stability, and I think that's where Rob Rivera, made his mistake in that initial press conference when they asked him, what do you think is the issue? Why do you think your team is behind all the rest of the teams in the NFC East? His first words should have been instability. That's where he should have led. Because when you say quarterback, people automatically think, well, are you saying you're losing these games simply because of quarterback play? Because people that watch these games clearly see that you guys are losing these games for much more than quarterback play. So it looked like he was throwing them under the bus. He tried to add context. Didn't really work out too well for him. But I look at this Washington team, and like you said, it starts from the top down. Dan Snyder is a joke. I think they've actually made pretty good personnel decisions. So I can't blame the GM for certain things, right? I think they have a really good wide receiver core. I think they have a talented defense. Their weakest group is the offensive line, and offensive line is one of the hardest groups to build, one of the hardest positions to fill. And they're also dealing with a lot of injuries on the offensive line. So it's not a far cry to understand why they can't protect Carson. But even then, Carson is steadily getting worse every single game. And it's so visible. It's so obvious. And I wouldn't be surprised if this guy pulled an Andrew Luck after the season. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, it seems like he's either a starter or he's nothing. And look, this is where I struggle with Carson Wentz here. Because even when he kind of does some good things, you're bracing for the interception. I kept joking last night that maybe the Bears should just let the Commanders have the football and see if Carson Wentz can, throw a pick six or find a way to turn football. By the way, Tone, what did you think? I kind of want to get your take on this since the Bears did play on Thursday Night Football. What is your overall take on Justin Fields? Because I'm starting to get to the point where I defended him a lot. Mm-hmm. And every time I watch him, I watch him every week now. And I'm like, you know what? I know the Bears have issues developing quarterbacks and developing an offensive scheme that fits him. But I'm starting to get to the point where, you know what? This guy can't throw.
He had this one easy touchdown that he just flat out missed. Like the dude was wide open in the corner of the end zone. All he had to do was just throw a touch pass wide open, and he overthrew the guy. But how do I feel about Justin Fields? I don't have any strong opinions about Justin Fields, if I'm being completely transparent with you. I understand that he's an Ohio State quarterback. Historically, Ohio State quarterbacks have not done well in the NFL. That's just what the trends say. Now, sure, there's always a player that can break a trend, but so far that hasn't been proven. I can't get over how bad of an organization the Chicago Bears are, just from a role of developing quarterbacks. So that plays a key factor. At the end of the day, he's a very raw product, and I think a lot of people knew that when he came into the NFL, how raw of a project he was. Even with Trey Lance, he was a raw project as well, but it seemed like people were more so trying to call Trey Lance the raw project versus Justin Fields. But it was clear that he was a guy that needed much more refinement in his game. And I think he was dealt a bad hand as far as the organization he went to. When you think about a guy like Jalen Hurts, who also came into the league a bit unrefined, he got coached up, right? And he has the mentality to want to put, to play above, his pay grade, to play above what people have graded him at. Justin Fields, I don't know too much about him personally because I haven't really kept up with his career. But from what I can see, he strikes me as a professional young guy, a guy that takes his job very seriously, a guy that's smart, a guy that wants to be coached well, a guy that wants to learn the game. And it just seems like he's not getting that in Chicago. And I really feel bad because, if it's easy to blame Justin Fields because he's out there, but at the same time, what quarterback has Chicago developed? What do they have around him? To give him the best chance at success. His coach looks like a dweeb. Doesn't even know what he's doing half the time. So it's really easy to get on Justin Fields, a guy who's entering his second year in the NFL. And I could probably give Justin Fields a little bit more slack if they allowed him to throw the ball. They don't throw the ball enough for me to actually give a strong opinion about what he can and can't do.
Well,
now,
who they got to throw the ball to?
That my point exactly. So it's like, but even if you don't have that many people to throw the ball to, Jeff, you're only like, there was a game where he only threw the ball like 12 or 13 times, or like 16 times, something like that. Not even like, it's less than 20 throws. I understand you may not have the best of weapons, but that's where your coaching has to come in. You have to scheme guys open. You have to create a game plan that puts guys in position. You have to keep it simple, stupid. You know what I mean? Like, quick slants or, RPOs, or do something to create offense, create steady offense for your guys so you can be able to judge him properly. I'm not going to sit here and crucify Justin Fields for a situation that he walked into and that hasn't gotten better. since he's been there.
There's two things I think of with Justin Fields. One, if it works out with the Bears or not, I think this is a man that's going to get another opportunity to play starting quarterback in the NFL because of
his first round pick.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I honestly think you put him in a better situation, he'll be better. He's one of those guys where I liked coming out of Ohio State. I thought, okay, this guy should probably be tired of where he is. I thought, okay, maybe he'll save the Bears. Two, though, and this is the important one. I wanted the Bears to hire Brian Dable because of this man. I wanted to see what Brian Dable could do with a guy like Justin Fields. And obviously the Giants were able to get him, and the Bears decided, we're going to go with defensive coach again, and then we're going to go get Luke Getsy. I'm like, for the call plays, I'm like, man, you guys just can't get anything right, can you, over in Chicago? The NFC North sucks, Tone. I'm going to say it flat out. I can't stand that division. I get tired of the NFC East getting all the flack all these years when that division has the Bears and the Lions. That's all I need to know. Like, that division has been a walking corpse for the Green Bay Packers to just kick the skeletons down, if you will. I get tired of it with the NFC North. Now, it does look like the Vikings are going to be half decent this year, but overall, Tone, I just get sick of it, man. I'm getting sick of watching the Bears in prime time. I'm getting sick of watching the Broncos in prime time. I'm getting sick of watching the Colts in prime time. The Commanders, I get I don't know what we got to do to fix Thursday Night Football anymore. Just give us better matchups than what we got.
I think it's beyond the matchups, man. Like you have games where the matchups are pretty good, and it still turns out to be a crappy product. It's the middle of the week, damn near, and guys are coming off a short week. They just played on Sunday, so teams don't really have enough time to game plan as much as they would like. I think a lot of the time players are kind of sleepwalking through these games. You know what I'm saying? And again, this is the NFL. This is the product they want to put out there. They're completely comfortable with it. And that's just something that we're just going to have to deal with. But in other news, we have our guy Jody Mack. Behind the scenes, man, the legendary Jody Mack that does amazing work on Birds 365, gives one of the most fascinating, one of the most interesting, one of the most illustrious perspectives, when it comes to your Philadelphia Eagles. So, Jeff, any final thoughts before we hit this break, my man?
Wentz said it best, though, with Thursday Night Football. I didn't want to interrupt you there, but Wentz said it best. He's sore Monday, right? He was saying from his perspective. And this is a guy who's 7-0 on Thursday Night Football now. He's sore Monday. He's still trying to recover from that Sunday's game. And then he said, you got to change your mental clock and say, I got a game in 3 days. I got to get ready for that. Maybe Wentz knows how to get ready for Thursday Night Football a lot better than other players do because he doesn't play bad on Thursday Night Football. I think he has like 16 touchdowns and 2 interceptions.
That's interesting to know. That didn't materialize last night. No, but man, you guys are locked in on Good Morning NFC East with Jeff Kerr. I'm your guy, Tone DeShields II. Next up, we have our guy Jody Mack in the building. Keep it locked, you guys. You don't want to miss this.